it's so out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like I really had to, I was in the car like hyping myself up to go into stores. It's like, come on, so if you can do it, like please, like do it. I think the best brands are building brand universes rather than just relying on the product.
Yeah.
I will remember that name till I die. That's like the last thing I'll say on my way out. Like, you know, QE World Trade essentially.
Good morning, early birds and future moguls. If you ever wondered whether the successful entrepreneurs start their day a little bit different, welcome to Founders Before 9 a.m., the backstage pass to the secret ritual, mindset hacks, and tiny habits that build loud legacy. I'm your host, Candice, the founder of Miss Morning. And every episode, we will pull up the curtain with some successful entrepreneurs who turned mornings into their powerhouse. Today, we have Sophie Hood, the founder and CEO of Seoul Tonic. Welcome, Sophia.
Thanks so much for having me.
You have built a really, I would say, disruptive brand, Seoul Tonic, and it's pretty much sit in the middle between beverage and wellness category. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to today's conversation with you. So let's start with your mornings. Tell me, as a founder, so what's your morning routine looks like?
Okay, I wish I could say I have a really standard routine, but I am the most chaotic person in the world. And I feel like my mum always jokes about this. She's like, you look so put together for someone who is like disgusting and messy and like all over the shop always. Yeah. So I do try to go to the gym. I will say I have the worst habit. I wake up every morning and I check my emails. I check
time?
Like 6 different email accounts. Yeah. And I just write, like my cortisol just like raises like instantly, and I start to get stressed about all the things I have to do. And then I get myself out of bed and I try and do a strength session at least 4 times a week and do that. Then I always get a coffee, which is also just spiking that cortisol again. And then I either run to meetings or I get onto my laptop. I've found recently that a lot of my days is jumping between meetings either in real life or on Zoom calls because a lot of where the business is growing is actually not in Australia at the moment. I've kind of set up Australia, so it's either global calls with the UK or the US or even New Zealand, or it's running to kind of brand building events in Sydney.
Yeah, that's exciting. So I was wondering, do you change anything that you're doing in your mornings after you become full-time on this brand?
I guess a little bit. Just checking my emails more. Yeah. I guess.
Like right after you wake up, you starting to check.
Yeah, like in bed. Like it's still dark and I'm checking my emails in bed.
What time you wake up every day?
Usually before 6. Yeah. My body clock's usually around 5:30. And I check my emails for about 25 minutes. And I have this thing where, and I know it's bad, but you know, I check TikTok and Instagram and I'm checking multiple accounts, the podcast account, the Seoul Tonic account, the Sophie Hood account, across all social platforms.
As soon as you wake up.
As soon as you wake up. It's so bad. And I'm passing it off as work, even though it's still social media. Yeah. It's like my biggest like insecurity right now is that I do this and I consume so many podcasts of so many neuroscientists. I work with a neuroscientist. Like I know that this is not good for me, but I can't not do it. Yeah. Do you check your emails when you wake up?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See? It's hard not to.
Yeah. I feel like I always do the hard things right after I wake up. I feel like in that way, I don't feel quite overwhelming or quite fear of doing that.
Yeah, it's called eat the frog is like the concept of like doing the hardest activity first. Yeah. But my thing is that I'm not necessarily doing something hard. I'm like literally just consuming like my inbox. Yeah. Just looking, like I'm not even responding. I'm like looking. Yeah.
So do you do any like affirmations or exercise or?
I'm really big on, and I know it's like a bit woo-woo, I definitely lean into like both the herbal, holistic side of things versus just conventional stuff. So manifestation, I do acupuncture, which is like my time to forced relax. Yeah. I practice gratitude, but I don't journal. But when I am really stressed, I just go to my notes app. And my notes app in my phone is a scary, scary, scary place. It's like my deepest, darkest secrets. It's like a journal. I've, written about every crazy breakup, every friendship issue I've had. It's all in my notes app.
Okay.
And sometimes when I'm on a long haul flight, I'll just revisit it.
Right.
And just look back over. But I also document some really positive things just to remind myself of like how lucky I am.
Yeah, I love that. It's like your little secret.
Yes.
Yeah. And doing some self-talk and also, like you said, documenting your growth. And so I'm wondering if there's one thing you never skipped in your morning, even you need to catch up an early flight.
What I wouldn't skip?
Yeah.
Breakfast.
Yeah. Okay.
I would never skip breakfast.
Right.
I am a hungry girl. I get really hungry a lot, and I'm really big on eating like a really high protein breakfast, like always.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people fast. I just simply cannot. I get brain fog. I can't think clearly. And I also just really like the ritual. And then also coffee. And I know coffee's being like seriously demonized at the moment with like the rise of matcha and slow release caffeine, but I love coffee. I love the taste.
Yeah.
I love the smell.
Yeah.
I love the ritual.
Yeah, and a lot of people actually have to start their day with a cup of coffee or matcha.
Yeah, they feel like they can't do anything until they have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And how do you even manage your energy and your time when you were still working the corporate job for full time, and you need to juggling on both your side hustle and also make sure your baby is growing?
Yeah, that was a really crazy time. I think the beauty in that time, if I'm being reflective, was that I was so naive and extremely ignorant to what was to come.
Yeah.
And now that I'm a few years in and I understand what it takes to grow a global company and what scaling really entails, and you know how funding works and how distribution challenges work, I guess like that time I didn't know any of that. So I was just trying to put one foot in front of the other and just learn it at the time. So I wasn't prioritizing actively. I was just trying to do the next best thing.
Yeah.
So that looked like before work, trying to sell into stores to see if I had any product market fit. And then after work, trying to do the same thing and just trying to figure out what my distribution and supply chain could look like. So it was just, honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. It was just like trying to just keep moving forward in some capacity.
Yeah, just go with the flow.
Yeah. It was a very challenging time, but I wouldn't have traded that for the world because, you know, my Red Bull salary funded my business.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you were mentioning you worked for Red Bull. So basically, they are like the top brand in beverage space. So let's talk about your journey, become an entrepreneur. So I heard that you are still very obsessed with Korean culture, skincare, fashion, all of that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, how did you end up with like step into beverage space rather than, you know, launch a skincare brand or maybe a fashion label?
That's a good question. And I guess my heart, I still love skin and fashion, and I love how empowering it makes a female feel.
Yeah.
You know, self-care, prevention, wellness, that whole thing. I guess my core pillar that I understand is beverage. Like I worked at LVMH, but on the Moet Hennessy side. So always luxury beverage portfolios. And then Red Bull, I would say, is probably the most premium energy drink in the category. Of course, it is shifting a little bit now. So I guess when I discovered Korean culture and, you know, the skincare and the fashion, but when I discovered their beverage category, I was just blown away. I was like, how do they have all of these niche tonics and drinks that we haven't even seen before?
Yeah.
And they're in every 7-Eleven, and there's like, you know, 12 to 15 of these like liver tonics. Like, how don't they exist? And from me, it was more of this excitement around creating a category. And because I'm a commercial person, like I've always worked in commercial roles, I was like, oh my God, there's this like category that exists in Korea, but it doesn't exist here. Like, I could fully just create one. Like, how cool would that be? So that's kind of how it happened. Yeah. And then mixing in my like love of brand, we were able to create something that looks really, really cool and disruptive. And that's why it kind of sits, interestingly, Seoul Tonic is sold in fashion boutiques because it's like when you're getting ready to go out, what's the next thing you do? And then we are sold in beauty stores. One of my highest performing stores is a New York beauty store in Brooklyn and in Chinatown. And I'm so pumped to go and like visit them for the first time next week. But we've been selling in there for over a year, and that only sells skincare essentially. And then just Soul Tonic. So I have been able to combine almost all my worlds, which has been really great.
Yeah. So, I mean, your product packaging is so different because the color you choose is silver and black. It's very rare to be used in a beverage packing, right?
Yes.
Because all it's like very colorful, wanted to catch more eyes on the shelf. But like, how did you decide to go with that color and, you know, have that brand identity, visual identity?
Yeah, and if you just look at the hydration or the energy category alone, it's like everything is screaming at you. Everything is like, look at the Gatorade, it's like bright blue.
Yeah.
All the hydrolytes, like bright green, bright orange, Barocca. Like it's just, to me, that's all really fake looking.
Yeah.
And the whole pillar of Soul Tonic is using natural East Asian wellness ingredients. So it needed to feel natural but still cool.
Yeah.
And essentially I briefed that to my designer, who is still head of creative today. And originally it wasn't actually silver. It was actually this like kind of like natural green and gold, a bit more muted. And then he actually came, he was like, oh my God, like imagine if we did silver, like no one's done silver and we'll make it all aluminium.
That's right.
And I was like, oh my God, like that's fully amazing. And then we just started going down that path, and that's really inspired the rest of the brand and all of our little like brand touches. And like we have a we use the Korean yin yang a lot.
Yeah.
We have this like S stamp that we use. And then the second product, we've just switched the whole thing. We just made it black and silver, and no one's done that. And if you look at them on the shelf together, they look really beautiful, and you're just kind of like, what is that, before you even know what you're buying?
Yeah.
And we do still believe a lot of people just buy it because they're like, that looks cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that for Korean people, actually, they are really into white, black, gray, this like neutral color. So, and also your brand name is Soul Tonic. It's kind of bring that vibe to Western culture, right?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, a big part of the brand story is our Korean team.
Yeah.
And they're amazing, and Mr. Park, and like 98% of our team are Korean. It's only just us in Australia that are kind of like making the brand here. Yeah. But the back behind the scenes, who I work with every day, is just a Korean team. Yeah. But what's quite interesting is that, yes, you go to Korea and everyone's in these like chic, white, like, you know, can't see a crinkle in sight t-shirt. Everyone looks amazing. Like the quality of clothes over there are insane. And everyone is so chic, and no one's wearing activewear. Like it doesn't exist. I'm like convinced it doesn't exist, because you walk down a street here, everyone's in activewear. Walk down a street in Seoul, no one is. Everyone's like dressed to the nines, but like cool, like streetwear. But you go into a 7-Eleven, the products don't look cool and chic. The products are like medicinal, ancient looking ingredients and tonics. So I think it's quite interesting that we've created this thing that kind of looks new age Korean, but it isn't reflective in what is actually sold in Korean stores.
Yeah, and also attracted so many maybe Gen Z wanted to have a try. Yeah, that's so cool. And I heard that since you mentioned that you have whole manufacturer in Korea, and I heard that at the very beginning you got scammed, and you have been through so many difficulties, and someone ripped off your design and trademark. So how did that happen?
That was awful. So when I was first going to tender to find a manufacturer, it was the depths of COVID. Didn't speak a word of Korean. Yeah. Didn't even know.
When was that?
Didn't have anyone to help me like explain the process of finding a manufacturer. So I literally just did it on my own. So I went to Google first, and that's where I first got scammed by this company called eWorld Trade. They look legitimate. They're like quasi-legitimate, quasi-scam.
You still remember the name?
Yeah, no, I do. Are you kidding? I will remember that name till I die. That's like the last thing I'll say on my way out. Like, you know, you eWorld Trade, essentially. So, but they scammed me.
When was that?
That would have been in beginning of 2022.
So the whole world under lockdown.
Yeah, Korea particularly was really locked down. Like you couldn't even enter the country.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Korean International Trade Association called KITRA, and they gave me a translator, and I gave them my business plan, and they kind of went out to find manufacturers that would be able to fulfill what I wanted. And then one of those manufacturers was actually the one, and he was a diplomat. He was the one that ripped off my designs.
Oh
so
my
I
God.
sent him my initial designs being like, hey, this is the vision I want to bring to life, not knowing that people like sign NDAs or not knowing that I should be protective over the IP, because at that point I didn't have any IP. Like, it was just all a vision.
Yeah.
And when I didn't go with him, he went straight to the trademark office in Korea and trademarked Seoul Tonic with the design. And I didn't know until a year later when my current manufacturer was like, hey, your designs are trademarked in Korea and they're trying to fund it. They've been going out to get funding for a Seoul Tonic with our designs.
Oh my God, that's so
And
terrible.
I was like, oh my God. And at this point, we were already in market. We were selling. We're in a national retailer in Australia. And they were like, you're going to have to get rid of this because like we can't have a Seoul Tonic exist in Korea.
Yeah.
And in Australia, particularly at that point, we were, expanding a little bit more globally. And so then my current manufacturer helped me find a Korean trademark lawyer. And I've been working with them for the last year and a half. And I can say as of 2 months ago, we knocked down their trademark, and I am now trademarked in South Korea myself.
Oh
so that's
my
good.
God.
But that was obviously a really costly exercise because obviously
Yeah.
the lawyer fees, and then you had to get rid of their
That's a
trademark, and we
lot.
had to also trademark.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so terrible. So I was wondering, during that moment, what was like going through your mind back then? Even those terrible things happened. Did you ever think of maybe I give up? Maybe I change my lane or?
Interestingly, I never doubted myself. I've always been good at being like, okay, this is the problem. How are we going to solve it? Like, I'm not going to give it too much airtime because, like, what's the point? I'm like, I think I was almost so under the pump and so busy because I was still working full time at that point.
Yeah.
But it was like, I, out of necessity, just need this to go away. And interestingly, I think sometimes when you have more time to dwell on things, you take up that space and you take up that time. But when you simply don't, you just have to, you'd be surprised at how fast you move through things. It's like when you're studying for an exam. It's like if I give myself a week to study, like I'll take that whole week. Or if I give myself a night to study, I will do it all in the night. You just kind of do it out of necessity. So no, I didn't doubt myself. I was just a little bit upset that I had to pay these like ridiculous legal fees for no reason.
That's
essentially.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every starting point is such a struggle, and I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs said they have been scammed.
Yeah, everyone's scammed. And this isn't the first legal issue I've had. I've had countless. And for a business that's not very old, it is quite wild how many I've had.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like even you work for the big names, you got all of this experience, but you feel it's totally different game when you become an entrepreneur.
It's completely different. And I think a misconception is that like, oh my God, you worked in beverage for so many years, you like have such an upper hand. It's like, well, actually no, because when you're working for a global organization, you have teams and teams and teams of people to do all of this
That's
stuff
exactly
of
right.
which you're not exposed to any of it. You're just exposed to this tiny little like segment of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you assume you could do everything until you become the entrepreneur. Then you realize.
Then you're like, oh my God, like I didn't realize I have to do this. I have to learn how to do it.
That's so interesting. So I heard that when you have your product and you were literally door knocking to every retailer in Bandai. So did you like fear of rejection from them, or how did you pitch to them?
I did. So interestingly, every single sales director I've ever worked for, because I used to always work for a sales director in the organization and the CFO, like I was sitting in between them. They were always like, Sophie, you need to be in sales. Like you are wasted in the finance team. Like it's ridiculous. And you know what? I know how to sell a product, dare I say. So I was just like confidently was like, I knew it looked good. So I was like, look, I know you haven't heard of this product. Trust me, it helps you with your hangovers. I think you should put it on counter and it'll sell. And they were like, what, who are you? Like, what is this product? Like, I've never seen it before. And then I'd always give them at least 12 pouches for free. And I said, if it sells, like call me and like order a case. And every single one of those stores that I sold into in Bondi has always reordered. They've been one of my top, some of them like my top customers. I think we have like almost 20 stores in Bondi Beach alone that sell it. Like every fruit store, every deli, every supermarket, BWS, Woolies, Fruitologist, Bondi Beach sellers, Ben Buckler sellers. They're all Soul Tonics on the counter or in the fridge.
Amazing. So you literally door knocking every one of them?
Yeah, I think people are always like take a really localized approach and strategy, and I never really understood what that meant until I was living in Bondi and realizing that I could actually gain a community and brand lovers just by having lots and lots of distribution points in the one area. And I believe that I grew my business out of Bondi. And when we launched into Woolworths in Bondi, the target was 8 units per store per week. We did 160 units that first week we launched into Woolies in Bondi Beach, in the Bondi Beach Metro, Woolies Metro. And like, that is crazy. And that's because I had built all this brand awareness over, 2 years, so that when we did get to launch, it was quite successful in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I heard that people saying that good sellers is actually selling the feature of the product, and the great seller is selling the outcome of the product. But the top seller is actually selling the feelings. Because at the end of the day, people won't remember what did you say to them, but they will remember what kind of feelings that you bring to them.
Yes, that's a really good point. And I became like, not like best friends, but like good friends with a lot of these store managers. Like I have them on a texting basis. Before I go to New York next week, I'm literally doing like, I've got 2 hours that I've scheduled in to like literally go around to all my favorite stores around Sydney and say goodbye and be like, hey guys, like, thank you so much for everything. So a lot of these guys, they now buy through my distributors. So at the time I was like directly supplying them, but now I have 6 different distributors that service different channels around Australia. So I've hooked everyone up to a distributor, but you still need to maintain that kind of like relationship with them so that they, they want to reorder, they want to promote your product, they want to put it on counter, they want to talk to people about it. And people don't want to do that. It sucks. Going into a store and meeting someone you've never met before is like the worst. It's so daunting, and it's just, it's so out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Like I really had to, I was in the car like hyping myself up to go into stores. It's like, come on, Sophie, you can do it. Like, please, like do it. But that is the most valuable thing I think I've done in my entire journey. Yeah.
I mean, like fortune always favor bold. Yeah. So yeah, thankfully you've done that, and now here you are.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Like even for your product, which is incredible, by the way, like in skin, that like, you're replacing multiple steps in the skincare. I think in this world of simplification, minimalism, the busy person, the woman that wants to do it all. Yeah. There's so many key outcomes that you can sell from your product. I think you would get so much benefit as well. Yeah. Like none, like I say this to all my friends who don't do it. They don't listen to me, but I'm like, just learning how to sell into someone, it's such good practice. Yeah. And then when you end up doing these big pitches to the larger retailers, you have all of these like little insights and comments and ways to speak to them because you've had so much practice.
Yeah, that's right. And since you mentioned that, because I feel like your product and mine is all about like, kind of innovative. So do you find any challenge when you need to really educate people or even your retailers to let them understand what it is, what it does?
100%. Education has been the hardest bit for sure. I think, you're almost like creating a category, you're creating a new product within existing categories.
Yeah. Even when you give it to me, because I don't consume alcohol that much, I try to avoid it, maybe just 1 or twice per year. So when you give it to me at first, I thought, can I even drink that? So I put in my refrigerators until I prepare for this podcast and learn a bit about the product and the stories. Then I realized, okay, that one is actually good for your body, even you don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, on the OG, the silver one, it has more potassium in it than a hydration sachet. We have countless gyms, run clubs, etc., who drink it because it's bioabsorbable electrolytes. Yeah. So you're not peeing it out because it's from natural sources. Then we have the ginseng in there, which is obviously amazing for like stress relief and anti-inflammatory and a bunch of things as well. So if you just want like a natural tonic, but the problem is that I'm not going to go around to all of these stores being like, here's this like cool, sick natural tonic. They're going to be like, okay, look at the fridge. We have 1,000 health tonics. It's like I needed to create a category to make them listen. Yeah. That was the thing. But now we're educated. Now we've got, the apple cider vinegar product, which is really good for digestion and all this other stuff that it's not just linked to alcohol, and we're definitely moving away more into just holistic wellness. But that original product, I had to position it like that. Otherwise, no one would have cared. And I wouldn't have been able to go on that TV show or nothing, because it wouldn't have been creating a category. It wouldn't have been innovative. So I think that's the same for you, is that, you know, you have got this product which definitely can sit in your skin routine like various skin products. But what are you doing that is innovative and disruptive? And that education piece is the hardest thing, but that's your unique selling point.
Yeah.
And when you're talking to a retailer, you just have to be talking about how you're educating customers outside of the retailer so that they come in and want to purchase it.
Yeah. I remember when we first met and you mentioned the storytelling part is really important for the brand. Especially I see there's a huge trend that literally every entrepreneur is starting to documenting their journey, build in public. And so tell me, like, how did you even do that and share your stories and build up the brand?
I will say at the beginning of launching the brand, I really had no intention of building in public or storytelling. I actually, not that it wasn't a thing, but it wasn't as big as building in public is at this current moment in 2025. It's like probably this whole idea of personal branding and building in public is like all anyone is talking about. It's all everyone's aspiring to be, because people are connecting to people more than brands. And that's people don't like seeing content from brands. They feel like they're getting sold to. They feel like they're being like scammed or ripped off. They just don't believe it, but they will believe a recommendation, or they'll believe it coming from a face. So at that time, I thought I could just sit behind a really cool looking brand and not put my face behind it. And I quickly realized that wasn't the case. And how I realized was when I was on the TV show, Channel 9 was like, you need a landing page for people who watch the show to come and see the rest of your story. And I was like, oh shit.
That's how did it happen?
How it happened.
Yeah.
So I only started TikTok, I think, in 2023.
Wow.
Probably, or no, end of 2023. More 2024 of last year. So it was mostly last year that I really kind of started. And that was just out of Channel 9 publicity being like, you need some bit of a profile, not like a huge one, just something. And then as I started to connect with people, I started to actually have an audience of really like lovely female founders, but also female customers. I actually just really enjoyed it. And I was just putting out, at the beginning, I was like, I don't know what to put out. I was still working full time. I couldn't really put out much about the business because Red Bull employees would see it. But then I just started, just documenting things in my life that felt natural to me. And that's the only way I've been able to be consistent. I literally I don't have any plan. I don't have any content plan. I have no idea what I'm putting out. It's just something that comes to me on the day. And then that's what I roll with. But I think being reflective and showing people where you've come from, like especially me coming from a corporate career, there's so many girls that I know are stuck in like corporate. That
they
can't
relate
see a way
to
out.
your journey.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Because I was literally about to ask, do you have any like strategies? And because you were talking, you don't have. But I mean, as you said, people wanted to connect with people rather than a brand, because there are so many brands and people wanted to sell them. But you are literally build that emotional connections with your audience and let them know, oh, this is my journey and this is my vision, and what like the product is just maybe just a journey for me, and I want you to get inspired and be a friend of mine.
That's exactly it. And I think the best brands are building brand universes rather than just relying on the product. It's like, what emotion is your brand evoking in the customer? How do they feel when they buy it? How do they feel when they consume it? How do they feel when they can show people they have it? And we've got so many amazing pillars that we can lean on within that brand universe that I think has definitely helped grow the brand.
Since you mentioned that you're on the TV show, and honestly, you were literally the first people that I know in my life get onto that reality show, and even you're the winner, right? So how did that happen? Did you got anyone refer you, or did you apply for that show?
No, I definitely didn't apply, nor did I get referred, in the sense that I was like very much in a full-time job, and I'd only launched Soul Tonic for 7 weeks when I was reached out to on the brand account by Endor Molshine, who do everything like Maths, The Bachelor, like literally all of the shows. And it was a producer, and they were like, hey, we're like filming this, we're recruiting for this new show with Ramsay and Janine, Allis, trying to find Australia's most innovative food or beverage entrepreneur. It's kind of like Shark Tank meets The Apprentice. Like, do you want to
Wow.
audition or do you want to put yourself forward? And I was like, I actually said no because.
Oh, you said no?
Yeah, because I was I had a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, how was I meant to explain that to Red Bull?
Okay.
That I'm going on a show for my side hustle that they're not meant to know about. And then I spoke to a few people from my old job at LVMH, the commercial director, and he was like, Soph, you will never get more free publicity in this world where everyone's fighting for market share and fighting for screen time and attention. Like, you don't even know if you're going to get on. Like, just at least, like, you know, go through the audition process. So I went through the process and pitched the product, pitched my idea, multiple rounds, and eventually they were like, okay, you're on the starting 30, and 30 will quickly go to 14, and then 14 over a period of time will go to 2. And so I said to Red Bull, I'm taking annual leave. I'll be gone for 1 day or I'll be gone for 5 weeks if I win. I hope you're okay with that. But I'm out of here. And they let me go.
Yeah.
And I was gone for 5 weeks. And then I came back and I'd used all my annual leave. And I had this business and then I had this full-time job and I was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so during that show, so did there anything happen behind the scene that you feel like a little bit challenging or even out of your control?
Oh, so many things. Like, the show was mental. Like, 17-hour days, you weren't allowed to go to the bathroom on your own. You were escorted everywhere. You were always mic'd up. There were like control rooms of like 40 screens watching every move. There were like, you know, architecting things together. Like, there were certain episodes that were just like a complete stitch up, like fully. But because I won, I did have a pretty good narrative and a pretty good story. And like, I will say the other contestants, as much as a few of them are close friends of mine now, it was very confronting to be with all of these people from all around Australia that potentially didn't have the same like etiquette or respect or had never worked in a corporate environment, so didn't understand like how to treat people.
Yeah.
So that was eye-opening for sure. The final episode was a TED talk to 300 people in Fed Square Theatre. So not only do you have like Gordon Ramsay and Janine and whatever, but you have like literally every industry heavyweight sitting in the crowd, and you do a 30-minute TED talk. Wow. That was like the scariest moment of my life.
I can imagine.
Because not only are you doing it to 300 people, you're being filmed, knowing it's then going to be broadcasted to millions of people. So, and they want you to like fuck, not that they want you to fuck up, but they kind of do, because like that's good TV. So yeah. Sorry, I only had 13 hours to prepare for that. They only tell you the challenge like the night before.
Wow.
So not only I'm fully sleep deprived, you know, you're doing challenge after challenge, you get like no break. You're constantly in these rooms, these green rooms. So like filming an elimination ceremony could take like 5 hours. So when I watch maths now and I see like the dinner party, I'm like, I know that it's like 3 a.m. and I know that you guys have been sitting at this table for like 6 hours, and I know that the only way to get out of this table on this dinner table is if you start drama so you can leave. Like, it's just it's weird.
Wow, it's so different.
Oh yeah. So different.
Yeah. And I thought I watched a clip that Janine said when she saw you, she was like watching her younger self. I think that's a huge compliment.
It is a big compliment from Janine.
Yeah.
Janine is definitely probably Australia's most well-known female entrepreneur, for sure.
And she's your mentor now.
She's my mentor. Yeah. So I catch up with her monthly.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from her, or like the valuable advice you got from her?
I think the most valuable thing that I've learned from Janine is that like nothing I'm going through is original, and something that might seem quite dramatic to me simply isn't in the scheme of business, and she has seen everything. So she can distill a problem really well and kind of make it quite clearly not that important. And that's actually what I need. Like, I don't need someone to be blowing up my problems and perpetuating them. I need someone to be like, oh, I've seen that 1,000 times. This is how you work through it. It's fine. Like, don't stress.
Yeah. It's pretty much like how your business can grow. It depends on entrepreneur, how quickly you can involve yourself.
I think so. I think it's how quickly you can work through problems and how unstuck you can become.
Let it go.
Yeah, letting things go. It is very hard. Like, you love everything, and like it's so easy for me to sit here and be like, yeah, like, you know, no problem's a problem for me, which is not true, because I'm dealing with problems that like hurt my soul every day, and I feel so like deeply connected to these problems, and I'm like, why don't other people care the same way I care?
Yeah.
But they never will, and the more you get exposed to really big issues and different types of issues, the next time you see them, they're just like, it's not a big deal anymore.
That's right. Yeah, that's so inspiring, actually. I think every entrepreneur should involve themselves quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for you, I heard you are going to move to New York. That's a really exciting news. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
At least base myself there while I'm launching in different markets kind of over that side of the world. So I actually launch in London, I think it's today. The stock was in the country on Friday, and it should go out to its first retailer. So look, London's looking like as much of an interesting market for me as the States is, actually.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. And also like New York to London, 6 hours. So many friends over there. I'm just sick of the time zones.
Yeah.
Honestly, the US and the UK time difference is just almost unworkable when you're on calls, and if you're on multiple back-to-back calls with that time zone, there's only a certain amount of hours that really cross over.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you are about to like go to a totally new city, and I'm wondering what's next for the brand. Do you have like a 5-year vision of the brand or plans?
Definitely more products within this like preventative wellness space. I'm super interested in longevity and cognitive ingredients that are natural. I think we've got enough caffeinated beverages. I love coffee, but at 3 p.m. when you don't want another coffee, you don't really want a milky matcha.
You don't have much option.
What are you drinking that isn't bad for you? And it's not a prebiotic soda, which is kind of like just a soda anyway. Not a Diet Coke. It's full of crap. Kombucha, limited health benefits. Like, what are you having that's going to keep you going? I'm really interested in that space. I think we're going to be playing a little bit more into hydration as well, which we kind of already are, but a little bit more. And then I am actually doing a little bit of a side venture as well that I'm setting up at the moment, and that is less about what you're putting in your body and a bit more about what you're putting on your body, but still maintaining that connection to Korea, which luckily is the hub of skincare and beauty. And
yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, and I feel like if you go to a completely new city and you literally know nobody, but I do find like networking is such a powerful thing for every business. So how do you reach out to people and nurturing that relationship?
That's a really good question. Because I've had the privilege in Sydney to really be responding to inbound requests rather than outbound. And I think that's going to shift when I'm in New York. I will say that by cultivating an audience on TikTok, I have a good US following, of which I've already set up meetings with girls that have commented on my videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And through my retailers. So the beauty stores in New York, I launched straight into one of my favorite grocery stores in West Village the day I get there.
Wow.
And we're doing like sampling, we're doing like a little photo shoot around it. And there's all the people that I've been having calls with for the last year, I can now meet in real life. So I'm kind of like, haven't sent those outbound messages yet, but I'm in the market of saying yes to everything. So every call I have and I tell them that I'm going to be based in New York for a little bit, they say, oh my God, let me connect you with this person. Even a call I had yesterday, I got 3 amazing New York connections out of it, across like venture, across beverage, across like all these different kind of realms. So I think it's more just saying to people like, do you know someone? Because everyone knows someone in New York. Like, let's be real. Like, come on. It's such like a transient big place. Like, everyone's passing through. So it's about just being really open to saying yes, but also being proactive and asking people if you can be connected with someone from their network.
I really learned, because for me, I don't really ask people what I want. I feel like it's probably because the culture background, and sometimes I'm just shy to ask people and even ask them, can you help me with certain things?
It's hard.
Yeah, but like you directly ask them, and I feel like through your talking and the way you're sharing things, you have that really like unapologetic kind of confidence. So how did you even develop this?
That's a good question. I think I was always a little bit like this. I am of the belief that everyone deserves, like, if it's not me, it's someone else. Like, why not you? Like, you deserve every opportunity in the entire world. And if you don't ask for it, there's a high chance you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
You don't ask, you don't get. And, you know, but I always pay it forward. I do the same. I show people the same respect that I am shown. So if someone really helps me, I'm always paying it forward with other people. I'm always trying to connect everyone. Yeah. That's the kind of person I am. And I want to come across like that to my network so that they feel like they can come to me and trust me with things. And then they want to help me connect. It's just this like weird like cycle of like, if you put out that energy into the world, you kind of end up receiving it. Yeah. Culturally, it's an interesting thing. I mean, different culture, but my Korean partners, they're a bit more reserved, and they're a bit, you know, they won't tell me sometimes what they really think about things until like after the fact, or if it gets actually brought up, they won't come forth and tell me about things. And I think there is that cultural thing, but I think in Australia, you know, we are getting better. We've still got the tall poppy syndrome, but I think what's the harm in asking? All you can get is a no, and eventually, and all the best entrepreneurs get 1 million no's before they get a yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think through the journey, you're actually building that confidence, and also probably building a thicker skin, then you're not afraid of any no's.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And like, I think putting myself out of my comfort zone consistently has allowed me to build that, particularly like not just the show, doing like crazy things like saying yes to opportunities and public speaking and being in rooms with people much smarter than myself. Yeah. Has allowed me to feel more confident in other situations.
Yeah. So fast forward to today, what do you think is the biggest challenge for you or for the business?
It's scaling the business and it's working capital. So it's everyone always can't believe that I'm still fully bootstrapped and scaling into all of these markets, and it is mental. Like, it's quite crazy. Like, it needs more cash, and but it's like, at what cost? Is it worth doing the fundraising round that takes me out of my day job and into a different world, and that can be at the detriment of the company. But then you need money to grow as well.
That's right.
So I'm kind of at this little stuck point at the moment, and I'm finding that a challenge. But it's nothing that I can't work through, and you know, there's a lot of money in the world, and if you absolutely need it, I know I can find a way to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So to wrap up today's conversation, if you wanted to give one piece of advice to maybe future entrepreneurs who wanted to start a product-based like business, what would that be?
You're probably gonna hate me for this because it's like so
many
lame.
So lame.
Well, yeah, there is so many. I could sit here for an entire podcast telling my advice. It's just start and get something in market. The only way that you can grow and build and cultivate a brand is if you've got something to iterate from. And I see so many entrepreneurs, they spend so much time in the product before they can even get a product to market, even if it's just the product development or overthinking their strategy or their marketing or whatever they're doing. You will not learn until you've given your customer your product and you can get feedback from them, so you can iterate and you can understand how to cultivate.
That's exactly right.
So you just need to do it. Like, you need to get something out there. And the moment you've launched a product, you start from day one again.
That's exactly right. I feel like overthinking really kills every entrepreneur.
It does. It does. And waiting for the right time. There is never a right time for anything in life. You just got to do it.
I feel this conversation is absolutely a joy. And
thank you.
I'm really looking forward to follow your journey in New York. And I'm sure you're going to keep shining and make a huge difference there.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I'm obsessed with your product. Like, honestly, it's, for me, someone like me, it's been an absolute lifesaver, because you can just put one thing on your face and you can feel glowy, and you can feel like your skin is like so nourished, and it's just been, it's been great to connect, and I'm sure we'll connect again.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. If you find it's useful, if you find you need to rethink about your own routines, please share it with a friend as a morning boost, and subscribe, leave a review. That could help us a lot. And we will see you in the next one.